So I want to ask Doug Hagmann, what does Trump do? What's the ear of East Coast law enforcement, your sources?
To some extent, I think you're right, but I also think that they do understand the stakes right here, Alex. And it's interesting, what does Donald Trump do at this point? I think he's done much, but there's much more to do. He's got some insiders. My information is he's got some insiders close to him who are who are feeding, of course, the enemies, the true enemies of Donald Trump, the former Obama plants that were left over from the White House.
Oh, it's completely full of them.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, Donald Trump, as I see it, and from my contacts, he's got a multifaceted front that he's fighting on multifaceted fronts. Now, with respect to Hillary Clinton and what we've talked about before about, for example, the Pedogate scandal, the emails, the 650,000 emails, the Podesta emails, and all of this, with respect to that, you start pulling on that string, and that string has been yanked a few times, and right, and I think to some extent they have, and they've been very measured in their response against their findings. Their findings are much more vast than, of course, what's happened so far. However, you're looking at this interwoven, incestuous relationship.
It's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, you've got bribery and corruption that is infused within both sides of the political spectrum. You've got upwards of 30%, and I would say that's a conservative figure, of lawmakers who are involved in some level or either being bribed or have been compromised. So they're controllable. Then you've got, so you start yanking some strings, or the string on that, what you could have potentially is ultimately a constitutional crisis, not at the legislature. Well, and I think that the response, from the Trump perspective, from the Donald Trump perspective, outward in sessions and such, they're looking to move methodically and using the state, federal, local.
But they don't have time. That's what I'm saying.
And they know that, and I think you're going to see, based on my sources here, and I think you're going to see some leaks coming out, some extremely volatile leaks coming out within the next 14 days. Now, that time could be off, but you're going to see some damning information about some high-ranking judiciary and legislative. But I think Donald Trump is playing chess along with Sessions and some people within his inner circle.
I agree. I've watched Schumer's body language. He looks like he is scared to death.
Right. Yeah, and he is. Now of course, he's fighting groups like United to Protect Democracy. This group, on the other hand, when Obama left the White House, and people need to understand, when Obama left the White House, he left the White House full of landmines, metaphorically speaking, of course. They took out hard drives. They removed a lot of equipment from a lot of software, information, hardware, and stuff from the White House, from the West Wing, and they also took with them a lot of the secrets. And that's something that the guys I talked to, the street level guys I talked to, are so frustrated because there have been no high level indictments coming from Sessions, or from now that Sessions has been in place, and the response that they've been getting from their higher ups is just wait a minute. It's only been,
everybody knows it's time to move.
Yeah, because you've got groups like United to Protect Democracy, a group of 5 lawyers who are part of the Obama staff, who know where the bodies are buried, who are forming. Yeah, and again, my sources are saying, what the hell? Why aren't we moving faster? They have the files, they have the information. Why aren't we moving faster? And of course, they're being tempered at the a couple levels down from Session in terms of
the deals with the pedophile rings.
Right. Well, a couple of things that I've been told, and this is interesting as well. They recognize Donald Trump as being very good at the counterpunch, and of course the art of the deal. He's approaching this, I believe, and my sources believe, as more of a businessman. Exactly. And again, this from my sources, they were a little bit surprised. I believe that was a reference to the Obama team was a little bit, or I'm sorry, the Trump team was a little bit surprised at at how deeply ingrained these communist revolutionary Che Guevara types were ingrained within all departments of government. And so they're fighting these fascists, these Bill Ayers, these Carl Dix type people within the government. And you'll notice that many of the slots haven't been filled yet. That's intentional. They're going to leave some slots filled. But getting back to when you pull back a little bit and take a look at this from a larger scale, it's my belief, based on my sources, my information, my analysis, my investigation, that what we're looking at here is, as I open with, is a multifaceted war. There's a huge war chest, George Soros war chest of money, some Clinton Foundation money.
They doubled the funding when they lost November 8th.
Exactly. And of course,
which means we thought we had a war before. It's on.
Oh, it's hot. And you have been a victim of this, as we have, and many others have, against this war against the so-called alt-right, or the real media. And this is
the war against loyal patriots.
That's right. And perhaps this is the biggest threat to them right now. Although we have in the corner there, looming large, is the threat of prosecution, criminal prosecution, the exposure, or the fear of exposure, is much greater, as we've seen over the last couple of weeks with the social networking. And as are we. And I'll tell you something. One thing that I want to caution people is do not underestimate these people. These people being Holder, Jarrett, Obama. They may be.
Why would he say in the New York Times, Obama is coming?
Yeah. Well, because obviously he's got the money, he's got the assets that have been ingrained within the structure of the government. You have, in rapid fashion, the United to Protect Democracy group, $1.5 million war chest, 5 staffers. It's just made within 30 days. You've got Brock, of course, with the American Bridge. You've got Indivisible. That's an offshoot of the Obama for Action. Obama was planning this, and I think people need to know Obama was planning exactly this. Maybe not with precision with Trump, but exactly this takeover, or this continuous of power since 2004. His speech in the Audacity of Hope speech in that Democratic National Convention. It was then when he organized the community groups. It was then that he began organizing all of the Che Guevara types around him. The election in 2008, he installed these people, had 8 years to perfect this community organizing on a federal level. And then, of course, people expect this to be untangled in 4 months. It's not, or 8 months or 8 days. It's not going to happen. But, and you're right, we're looking here. Everyone is looking. The guys on the street are looking for some sort of sign of life from those people who have the goods, who have the emails, who have the equipment. Well, and that's a great point. Yeah, don't mistake our silence for weakness. It's there's a strategy there. Now that only lasts so long, admittedly. However, again, what I've been hearing is just hold on, because there are a few very important leaks and actions coming here in the next 14 days, and it's contingent too, I believe, from what I've been hearing. Yeah, exactly. So we're seeing all of this this Cloward, Piven, the Alinsky, all of these
classic dirty communist tactics.
Everything, right? And they've got a 7-step process that they are engaged in. Heck, Indivisible has I think it's a 26-page report. It's right here.
That's the Soros group, How to Overthrow Trump.
Right, and so they're facing so much right now in terms of opposition. It's kind of like everyone's going to be putting these fires out. However, I do say that the Trump card, no pun intended here, the Trump card with respect to fighting the this juggernaut against Donald Trump and his presidency is the emails, or are the emails. There's a hearing next week by Judicial Watch about an additional release of state secret emails on the Wiener computers. So there are things happening in the background.
That was my next question. You and others said that it was child porn. Then it came out in mainstream news that the police have that. They want to bring it out. Will there be charges? So what's the battle going on behind the scenes there?
They're working from the bottom up, and they are turning some people. Apparently, there are some people that are turning or willing to turn at this point. Some state's evidence or acting on behalf of the government.
So they've been rolling up the pedo tentacles everywhere to get people to blow the whistle on the higher ups.
Yeah, probably 7 of the 8 will say headlines you saw or people have seen with respect to the child pornography arrest have some relation to the larger Pedigate scandal or the DC-centric Pizzagate scandal. Yeah, well, you know, it's the old saying with the mainstream media is "we deceive, you believe," and that's what's taking place right now. And given the fact that over 60% of American adults get their news from social networking, it's a little bit rough, especially when they control the narrative or attempt to control the narrative on the social networking. So I said all of that to say this. That's why it's so important for people to tune into you and us. Oh, yeah. And again, you've moved the ball down the field so far. And I think the level of fright, nervousness, and you can see it, you mentioned it earlier. These people, they're gutless cowards, they're spineless cowards, they're nervous. They believe that they can win on the numbers because they look at us, the conservatives, and especially...
It's a dying minority.
Right. And especially the conservative Christians, they look at us and they say, you guys aren't gonna even get off the couch. You might type an email or send a fax, but make a phone call at most. But you know what? We turn out in mass. We wear those funny pink hats. We dress up as women's body parts. We carry the signs. We show up. You guys don't, and that's something I think we have.
Yeah, because we're too busy working.
There you go. However, at some point, we are going to have to answer those numbers with our numbers. Yeah, and you've seen the evolution. It's a wonderful thing too, and we have to. I think we take our marching orders from someone greater than any man.
The high command.
Exactly. So we have. I mean, we know how the story ends. If you're a Bible believing Christian, we know how the story ends. Yeah, exactly. But that doesn't mean that we occupy until he comes. Does not mean to sit around and play chess or whatever, or to play some board game. We have to put our hearts, minds, souls, and bodies into this, and we have to show up. We have to play our positions, and we have to become aggressive. Now, when I say that, well, they have the files, okay, and that's one thing that I'm not sure people are clear on. I do know that at least. Well, at a certain level within these within the task force, the files exist outside. It's my understanding now they exist outside of the evidence. Well, yes, and I think right. When you look at it the proper way, of course, the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine would prevent anything above board being done. But I do think, as I said earlier, that a lot of the smaller, lower level things that we've been seeing are a direct result, at least as periphery, from the intelligence gathered from the...
Sure. What happens if they try a hot coup or try to say they're going to indict Trump or impeach him? Does Trump just roll over to these criminals, then let them accuse him and march in there and put up with all their BS?
I don't think Trump is going to have to do that. I think there's enough people on his side that'll do that for him, in particular, very high-level law enforcement officers. At least that's my understanding. Well, and you know what, Alex, that speaks to the lack of support, at least in my view, and from what I've heard, by people closest to Trump, including Reince Priebus and Paul Ryan. I think that they brought him, Priebus came on, but I think that there was a compromise. I think that's probably at this point reached its logical end, and I think Priebus might be, look, I don't know, but I've been hearing some rumblings about Priebus's future. Well, I'll tell you what, I would make sure that I was well insulated and certainly keep draining the swamp, but do it much faster, or at least as fast as I could, and certainly relegate Sessions to to file indictments. I would unseal Obama's records. That was the first act that he did when he went into office. One, unseal them by way of executive order. Let the world know who Obama is. Well, and that's just it. I mean, who is Obama? Unseal those records. He's undoing his legacy. Of course, that's why Jared, Obama's brain, is living with him now, because Jared, of all people, does not want to see Obama's legacy be destroyed. And now, having said that, while we were talking, one of the people on the NYPD, FBI, JTTF, Sex Plus Task Force watching you said, March, and I'll quote here, he just sent me a message watching you. He said, tell Alex that March may come in like a lion and leave like a lamb in terms of weather, but in terms of politics and this issue, meaning the files, it'll go out like a lamb as well, or like a lion as well. So they're expecting something, according to my information, in real time here, that'll change the dynamics of our conversation in the next 28 days. And the other thing too, I think we have to keep pushing to make our voices heard within the inner circle. I mean, you've got great contacts, we've got contacts. We've got to make our voices heard.
We've all got to be vocal. Don't just count on Trump. The people are the power.
Exactly, and change will come from above. What Organizing for Action, United to Protect Democracy, what they've done, they've realized that change comes from the bottom up. We have to realize change comes from the bottom up as well, and enforce that and show up in the numbers like they've never seen before. All we need to do is show up, play our positions, and play it well.
Sure. In closing, they put an arrest warrant out for Le Pen for tweeting 5 images of ISIS recruiters saying kill Frenchmen and stuff. I mean, how traitorous is that?
We could be in that very same position had the election turned out differently. And
Hillary said that.
Yeah, and if we do nothing different, if we sit on our duffs and do nothing different, that could be us in a number of years, despite the efforts of President Donald Trump, because change cannot be enacted at that level all of the time. All of the time. So we have to do things as well. Yeah, it's a sin as far as I'm concerned, and it's a damn shame that that's taking place over in Europe. But take a look at Europe, and folks, I'm going to tell you, look at Europe and look at our future if we don't change what's going on. Yeah, indeed. And the worst thing about this as well, and I know we're short on time, is the fact that you've got the Muslims, the Muslims joining with the feminists, joining with the communist, fascist, whatever, in these marches. This is insane. These people are insane.
They are insane. They're just the scum of the earth. It's true. Thank you so much, Doug.
Thank you.